I'm glad to be talking to you about the world's rising CO2. It increases in size, destroying our lives as well as our planet, Big Blue. I spend all my life driving around a track, hoping to one day take the trophy back. Every year, the crowds always cheer, as constantly shifting in gear. My car and its emissions, despite everyone's cheerful dispositions, stains all our futures black.
One very noticeable source of carbon dioxide emissions is professional racing. Most people know that it doesn't really help the environment, but exactly how bad is it? Let's find out. Professional racing is extremely popular, especially in the United States. Many thousands of people attend each of the races, like the Indianapolis 500, shown here.
All the way back in 30th place after an opening laps crash. Here they come to the checkered flag, and the winner of the Indianapolis 500 is Juan Pablo Montoya.
However, this popularity comes with a price. Each race car only gets about 5 miles per gallon, and for every gallon of gas burned, 20 pounds of CO2 are emitted. This means that every car burns about 100 gallons of gasoline per race. And if there are 40 cars per race, and 40 races per year, and 5 major racing organizations throughout the US, then about 200,000 tons of carbon dioxide are emitted every year, which is about the weight of the Sears Tower in Chicago. As large as this number may sound, it's very small considering what some other cities, the United States, and other countries produce on a yearly basis.
Mr. and Mrs. Itty lived in New York City, driving to work every day. They continued ignoring the Earth's global warming until all life perished away.
As Eric creatively mentioned, New York City is extremely polluted. Every second in New York City, about 2 tons of carbon dioxide are emitted. This is about 173,000 tons per day, and 63,072,000 tons per year. To help put these numbers in perspective, former New York City Mayor Michael Bloomberg created a video which showed exactly how much carbon the city produces. As the video said, about 75% of New York's emissions come from buildings, and the Environmental Protection Agency of the United States says that about 37% of carbon emissions in America come from the use of electricity and the burning of fossil fuels to get this electricity. They also said that 31% of America's carbon emissions come from transportation. The last major sector of carbon emissions is industry, such as the factories and machines needed to make transportation and electricity. Here's the EPA's diagram of carbon emissions by source. Each year, the United States produces about 6 billion tons of carbon dioxide, which is second only to China. But the whole Earth produces nearly 7 times as much as this, at almost 40 billion tons of carbon dioxide.
Of the world. But don't get upset, we've not given up yet. We can build complex towers to harness the sun's power. as well as that of the wind, to our previous actions rescind, as we charge forward, our sails unfurled. Many of the ways to reduce carbon dioxide production are very apparent and obvious. For instance, if racing leagues were to limit themselves to half as many races for half the distance, they would produce a quarter as much carbon dioxide. Another great idea would be to put required miles per gallon ratings on all the cars entering the race, forcing car designers to be more creative as well. That way no set car has an innate advantage, and the race is as a whole much less harmful to the environment. In the lives of Americans, if we switched over to a much more public transportation friendly environment like that of Germany, we would emit much less gas as we would drive less frequently. Try using electric or hybrid cars if you can. If your energy comes from coal or shale at your house, try adjusting the heat to less extreme temperatures, or maybe even switch to geothermal electricity if your property can sustain it. All these ways are great ways to dramatically cut the impact of your carbon footprint on the environment. One very commonly overlooked source of carbon dioxide comes from your junk mail. The amount of carbon dioxide produced from the creation, the delivery, and the disposal of a family's mail totals a higher amount than that of 2.8 million cars. Try canceling subscriptions to mailing sources that you never use the mail of. In the viewing of this video, I pray that we've taught you something today. Change and go forth, saving the earth, especially you, Mrs. Frey.